So, okay, so we're doing a book review today on why beautiful people, let's put this over here. Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters by Alan Miller. Alan Miller, it's a great book. This book's awesome. It talks about pretty much evolutionary psychology and the problems between how we live now in the modern world compared to 10,000 years ago. And the book pretty much talks about adaptive problems. Okay. So, you're a guy. You love sweets. You love fats. This book is for you. Okay. So, pretty much, our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are not produced by our experiences as individuals, but they come from our ancestors 10,000 years ago. Okay. So, the feelings we have, the fears we have, the desires that we have are not from ourselves, but they're more for just generations and generations and generations of your family surviving, right? And this can be seen a lot in the modern world, and the book talks about it like crazy. There's something called adaptive problems, okay? And an adaptive problem, I'll just start with examples, would be a sweet tooth, a fat tooth, something like porn. These are all adaptive problems that we did not have before. For example, a sweet tooth. 10,000 years ago, it wasn't easy to find sweets. Okay, we lived in like hunter gatherer groupings, and we would go out, women would forage, guys would hunt, right? And every now and then you would come across a sweet or a fat. It wasn't easy, it was very scarce. It was hard to come across things like that. So, whenever you seen that, you got to jump up on it. You seen sugar, you got to jump up on it quickly because you don't know when you're going to get it again. You see fat, you got to jump up on it quickly because you never know when you're going to see it again. And the thing is, as humans, we adapted in that environment. We lived in that environment for like a really, really long time. Okay, sugar and fat wasn't around like that for super long, right? And the problem is now in the modern world, how do you find sugar and fat? You can go to the supermarket, you can go to McDonald's, you can go to a market basket, you can go anywhere you want. If you want to find sugar and fat, it's very hard, very easy to do so. It's not hard to do so anymore. Like, when was the last time you hunted to get food? Most people don't need to hunt anymore. Okay, it's easy to find fats, it's easy to find sugar, and this is an adaptive problem. And because our bodies don't know this, our minds, we still have the Stone Age brain. Our brains are still from, you know, centuries ago. The way we function, it's very difficult to stop. You see a lot of sugar, your brain is thinking, holy shit, I need to eat this fucking sugar, I need to eat this fucking fat before it's all gone. But in reality, there's fucking so many of it that you're never gonna run out. So you naturally overeat and naturally become fat. And that's hard because you think it's you. You're thinking, holy shit, I'm just a fat ass asshole. I just keep fucking eating and I can't stop fucking eating. What is wrong with me? When in reality, it has nothing to do with you. It's your adaptive problems. It's your Stone Age brain saying, hey, eat this before you fucking die because you never know when you're going to run into it again. And the modern environment being completely different with it everywhere. So it's a mismatch, it's a mind fuck. That's the problem that's going on in the modern world. And you can see it in a lot of things we have, and that's what this book talks about. Great book. So pretty much, I'm just going to talk about some basic things in the book. I'm going to have more. If you want to get the full in-depth summary of this book, I'm going to have like that book review in the premium book review section of the site, whyintellectuals.com. You can check it in the description below. But pretty much, I want to talk about sexual jealousy because this is a huge thing, especially now, right? Between men and women, sexual jealousy. So back in the caveman days, sexual jealousy was huge because if a woman had a child, she obviously knows it's her child. Obviously, it came out of the woman. The child came from the woman, so she knows it's hers. Okay, guys, not so much. The kid can kind of look like him, but it's always a guess, right? And this actually happened a lot back in the day. A lot of guys would raise children that weren't their own, and that's a big thing to a guy that he doesn't like. So that's when sexual jealousy became started to grow. Who's that guy that you're talking to? Who's this guy on the Instagram liking your pictures? Who are you talking to on Facebook? Like, who's texting you this late at night? And that's because the guy doesn't want to raise a kid that's not his, and that adaptive fear from thousands of years ago is in this modern day and age. So the guys naturally become creeps, And it's the same with women. What's funny about this book is it talks about how pretty much men value sexual intimacy when it comes to cheating, and women value emotional intimacy. So like a guy will get more mad if he finds out that his girl was having sex with someone else as opposed to giving emotions to someone else. If the guy's dating a chick and the chick is spending time, you know, talking about her emotions and how her day was with another person and showing signs of like love and stuff like that, he's gonna be less angry than if she was having sex with the guy. And it's the same. And for the girl, it's different. If the girl finds out that the guy is having sex with another girl, she's gonna be less upset than finding out he's giving her emotions. If she meant something to him, if she if he's in love with her, like, do you love that girl? You know what I mean? Do you fucking love that girl? Uh, the girl's gonna be more upset with that, right? So men value sex. Are you fucking another guy? You fucked him. You fucked that guy. Like that's more of the guy's thing, and the more the girl's reason and the more of her thing is, do you love that girl? Did she mean something to you? Did she fucking mean anything to you? So there's something called the Savannah Principle, and it pretty much talks about how, before earlier, it talked about the mismatch theory. We live in a modern world that isn't matched with our Stone Age brain. We live in a modern day and age. We have the Stone Age brain, and we walk around and we're fucking get hypnotized by everybody, right? Everyone takes advantage of our Stone Age brain. This is marketing. This is advertising. This is everything, and a big part of this marketing would be media. Okay, when you watch a movie and you react to the movie, the scene comes on in Pursuit of Happiness when Will Smith gets fired from his job and he's sleeping on the park bench and you feel like you're about to cry. You're watching a movie, okay? But the thing is, the Stone Age brain doesn't know it's a movie. The Stone Age brain thinks you're friends with Will Smith. You're there, you're watching the movie, you feel the same emotions that, Will Smith feels, and you begin to cry, right? Or you're watching a horror movie and someone fucking starts stabbing the protagonist, the main character, and you're like, holy shit, oh. But it's a film. It's not real. It's a projection. It's something you're watching. But your brain can't tell the difference, right? Your brain thinks you're actually there watching the person getting stabbed and you want to call 911. And you're consciously aware of this. You know you're in a movie theater. You know you're watching a movie. But your ancestral mind, your ancestral mind thinks, holy shit, I just seen a murder. Adrenaline's pumping through you, cortisol's pumping through you, through your adrenals, and you're fucking scared, right? And that's taking advantage of the mismatched mind. That's the ancestral brain. That's the Stone Age brain. That's what the Savannah Principle is all about. Okay. Um, the last thing I wanted to talk about was just like stuff like basic things like what men look for in women. And what I found really cool about the book was the fact that uh, there were 6 things that show how a man is attracted to a woman, and it's youth, long hair, small waist, large breasts, blonde hair, and blue eyes. And I'm going to explain to you why. Okay, so youth. You know, no one wants to date someone or be involved with someone long term who's not going to last very long. Okay, so we look for healthier people. A woman who is less healthy is going to give rise to a kid who might not live long or a kid who might not make it through the birth, and that's a big deal. So guys look for health when it comes to finding a woman, right? Long hair. Long hair is the body's source of nutrients. Okay, you can tell how healthy someone is and how young someone is by their hair. All right, so a guy with very good hair is typically someone who's very young or someone who's very healthy. Same thing for a woman. A woman with long, lustrous, shiny hair is a woman who's more healthy. And as you age, your hair ages as well. So this is what men and women used in the ancestral days to kind of figure out how young the person was. It's like, oh shit, um, You look at her hair and you're like, okay, she has good hair, so she must be young. That's what the caveman guys did. And as you get older, your hair gets more fucked up. Guys, their hair gets pushed back, it's all fucked up. But especially for women, it's the same. It becomes gray, it becomes less shiny, it becomes kind of shorter. And this is why women who are typically older cut their hair so they can still, kind of ride with that illusion that they're getting older. They cut out all the gray hair, or they dye it, or they try to figure out ways to make it still look as young as possible, even though they're getting older. This is why a lot of older women have shorter haircuts, right? A small waist, a small waist is just for fertility, how fertile she is. Someone with a small waist can give. It's easier for them to give birth, right? That's another reason why we're attracted evolutionarily. Large breasts, interesting. Large breasts is cool. What I found out was that it was actually the way that they sag that defines the age. That's the tell sign. That's how guys know, is this girl worth knocking up, because it's a sign of youth. Okay, as women get older, their breasts, if they're large, they don't stay the same throughout as they age, as they progress. They tend to sag a little bit, and they tend to lose their firmness, and they tend to just deflate. They tend to just like don't look as good as they used to, and that's what men use to gauge how young or how old the woman was, just by how much her breast sagged. So like large breasts gave you an easy way to tell if they're saggy and large, then okay, she's probably a little bit older. If they're large and firm, then I can tell that she's younger, so she's more of a person I should knock up, right? So that's interesting. Large breast makes it easier for you to tell how young or how old a woman is. That's why they prefer large breasts. Right, blonde hair is actually a sign of youth. Women typically are blonder when they're younger, I believe, or people, and as they get older, they turn to a more brunette, darker color. And women have been dyeing their hair blonde for a millennium. Women have been dyeing their hair blonde thousands of years ago. This is before people thought that the media pushing out shit would make people try to fit that image of being the blonde, but in reality, blonde was something that we craved as men for thousands of years. Women have been dyeing their hair blonde before Kim Kardashian, before Instagram, all that stuff, and it's an adaptive problem now. And so, pretty much, being blonde represents youth, and a lot of people, you know, they think blondes are dumb, but they don't understand that the reason why that whole blonde is dumb mentality came, to rise is because, back in the day, a typical blonde girl was 15 years old. Of course, she's dumb compared to a 35-year-old brunette woman, right? But this stigma still stuck. So, if a girl's 25, she dyes her hair blonde, people are gonna think she's naturally stupid, but in reality, she's not. It's just, back in the day, in this ancestor times, a blonde was typically 15 years old. So I found that pretty interesting as well. And the last but not least, blue eyes. You know, we all have brown pupils. The book talks about this, but all of us have a different color eye. And when you're dating someone, it's hard to tell whether or not that person's into you. And if you made the wrong decision of thinking that person's into you when really they're not into you, that's fatal. That can really fuck your whole shit up. But the reason why people like blue eyes is because you're when you're attracted to somebody, or when you're into someone, or when you're into something, your pupils actually dilate. They actually get a little bit bigger. And what's cool is when you have blue eyes are the lightest color, in the color palette. They're pretty light. You can see the person's eyes dilate. That way you can make a better certain decision that, okay, this person's into me. So that's why blue eyes evolved to be something that we look for when it comes to attraction. So, youth, long hair, small waist, large breasts, blonde hair, and blue eyes. So pretty much, last thing I'm gonna leave you with is probably the most interesting fact I found out about this book was, okay. So in colder regions like Scandinavia and like Northern Europe, you'll see more blonde women, And I thought to myself, okay, why is there more blondes there compared to anywhere else? And that's because guys, when you're in a cold place like Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway, you have to cover up, especially for a girl. It's too cold to show off your reproductive capabilities, your large breasts, your small waist, all these things that I talked about. The only thing you can show off really is your hair. Okay, you can't show off your nice little booty or your small waist or your big breasts. You have to wear that big coat because it's fucking really cold out. But you can show off your hair, right? So a good way to get a guy, if you're a chick, especially in a colder place, was to dye your hair blonde, right? If you have nice blonde hair, number one, you're signaling youth. Okay, I'm young, I can have a child, and I'm very healthy. That's what the blonde symbolizes. And number two, you take good care of your hair. My hair is very good, good protein. Because the body first goes to the hair first to grab nutrients. I have very healthy hair and I'm blonde, and I have blue eyes. So, it's a wrap. Come get me. That kind of lollapalooza of attraction, it just makes more people in those colder environments gravitate towards the blonde hair to show off, their reproductive capability and maybe even the blue eyes too. So that's something I found very interesting in the book. So you definitely got to read this book. Why Beautiful People Have More Daughters, Alan Miller. Great book, great, great, great book. And if you want more, if you want to get, all the details in the book, all the, every little detail of, I have a note, I have an Evernote, and I write down everything. I copy passages from the book that I enjoy. You can just check that out in the premium book section. But signing out, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this.